Welcome aboard? No, not yet. It's 8:59, so we start a little early. We want to get the sound going in the chat room, and you know how it works. Oh my goodness, I'm already live. But still, I'd like to make sure that everybody knows about the Happy Hour Social Club podcast tonight, 7:30. You can find the link here on LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live. You can visit them on Twitch, Happy Hour Social Club. That's where all of the Boston crowd goes to listen to King Hap and Taco. And so I see the sound already in the chat room, which is exciting. But we're going to go ahead and wait until 9 a.m. to get going. Today we're going to talk about Baseball United. We're going to give you some updates from the manager winter meetings and also some free agent tidbits. It's going to be a great show. Lenny's doing fine. He's in the chat room today. It's just that some days he needs a day off, and I'm happy to fill in for him when that day comes. So doing podcasts 7 days a week is not, it can be pretty exhausting. So Lenny still digs for tidbits, and he's here in the chat room, so take advantage of that. And if anybody wants to call in, you know the number, I'm not gonna say it loud, but
I'll put it in.
It's not that hard to find if you want to come to the chat room. So here we go, Chris from Cambridge, and there's only 7 of you today, but Eddie Heckman, good morning. Mal Pal, great morning. Tina, good morning to you if you're listening. Chris from Cambridge, Danny, the captain, Danny Fuller, and of course, the woman behind it all, that would be Penny. Good morning to Penny. Chris sent me a message, and by the way, we love when you send us tidbits. We don't always include all the tidbits in the shows. A lot of times Lenny already has the tidbit, but sometimes they're very helpful. And, especially this time of the year, if you come across something great, please do feel free to send them to Lenny or myself. I have to admit, he's much easier to get a hold of. But when you send us tidbits like this one, this might be the best tidbit that has ever been brought to my attention. The other day, Chris sent me a message. Chris from Cambridge, our fellow Canadian friend, asked me what I think about Baseball United. And actually, he put it like the Dubai Baseball League, and I had not heard of it. I had never heard of Baseball United, so I told him I'd do some digging, and here's what we found. Baseball United, Middle East Baseball League. Now, you know that, I forget the law that they have, but MLB gets to skate around because nobody's allowed to have another baseball league in the country that competes with MLB. And just like PGA, this is what I can compare it to. Live Golf and PGA is exactly what Baseball United is to MLB. The interesting thing about this, and it's already started. In fact, right now it consists of West and East franchises, all right? They have 4 different teams so far in the West and East franchises, but they also have 7 national teams. The national teams include Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and Palestine. And they're talking about the mission of Baseball United is to inspire 1 billion fans to fall in love with baseball. Now, the Middle East, oh, wait, Lenny's screening calls. Perhaps we will get a call, so I can't get annoyed at him. They have a footprint in the Middle East of 2 billion people, 1 billion of whom are cricket fans, but the Middle East and South Asia is the bat and ball epicenter of the world. It's also home to some of the most diverse. Can we not talk to telemarketers while I'm trying to do the podcast, please?
What time is it?
Lenny?
Yes.
Good grief.
Yes.
I guess he doesn't care. He's still going to talk to telemarketers while I'm on live doing a podcast. He's going to talk to telemarketers. Okay, thanks for that. Anyway, back to what I'm trying to do over here, which is talk about Baseball United. One of the interesting things about this is not just that it's a brand new baseball league, but we have several, Adrian Beltre, King Felix Hernandez, Barry Larkin, and Mariano Rivera are all co-owners of this new Baseball United League. And just to let you know, they're having their opening night. Baseball United opening night is kind of like the All-Star Weekend. It's got a fan fest on November 24th from 2 to 6 p.m. Also on November 25th will be the All-Star game. They have their teams are separated into West and East, and so they will compete. The All-Stars of those teams will compete against each other for opening day. This is exciting, but it is really, look, when you can't have any other baseball league in the country, what do you expect to happen? Live Golf is exactly what Baseball United is to MLB, and I have no doubt that it will be successful. It's interesting, though, these teams like Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Palestine, Afghanistan, 7 national teams, and this thing is just growing. So it's these 5 guys plus a handful of other professionals who are acting as the president of baseball operations and stuff like that. So thank you to Chris, who brought this tidbit to me and gave me the, the energy to go and look and do some digging on this. We don't know a lot about it, but by the way, it's going to be huge. Also, he says Bartolo Colon, D.D. Gregorius, Robinson Cano, they all signed up. It's going to be great. Yes, it's like a law that they fall under, MLB, and it basically keeps other leagues from being created. And I know you guys all know the name of this law, but I can't, it's just escaping me right now. They fall under a certain branch of the law. They are basically, it's an umbrella to keep them safe. Yes, Lenny got yelled at. Okay, it's okay, Leonard, I forgive you. Good morning to Big Al on the prowl. Legends is doing fine. He's over here talking to telemarketers while I'm trying to do the podcast. So, he's up to no good. He's feeling great.
Gallo.
He just needs a day off. Chris Gallo, good morning. Debbie Gallo, good morning. Okay. It's nothing you haven't heard, Big Al, okay? Let me say hi to everybody. We got Big Al, Chris from Cambridge, Chris Gallo, Daniel Ferrara, welcome to Earth, Hulkster, Danny Fuller, Captain Danny, Penny, DK Lush, Eddie and Teresa Heckman, Leonard Donaldson, great to see you, Lenny, Malpow, I can't see the rest. Who else is on there? King Turd, Turd Jr. Mitchell's here, great to see. Rotorius, Triple Play, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. All right. Moving on. Now, the Phillies, are they going to let Aaron Nola walk so that they could sign Blake Snell, who's never pitched into the 6th inning in his entire career? You let a guy like Aaron Nola go for a guy like Blake Snell, that would be an absolute disaster. Okay? And also, here's a tidbit. Nolan Arenado did not even finish in the top 3 of balloting for the NL Gold Glove at third base. The interesting thing about that, the fact is, Arenado had won a Gold Glove at third base every single season of his career up until this one, and also won the Platinum Glove for the top overall fielder in the National League each of the last 6 seasons. Brian Hayes, Austin Riley, and Ryan McMahon all received more votes than Arenado. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the chat room. Does this give you pause drafting Arenado? I mean, I know that defense does not count in fantasy, but does it ring a bell in your mind to say maybe his age is catching up with him? Obviously, it happens to everybody. A lot of people thought it would happen when he left Colorado, but it certainly did not happen when he left Colorado, and he was still rather young at that age, maybe 30, but the fact that his defense is not as good as it used to be, and in that one season, it should give you pause drafting Nolan Arenado too high. Just a thought. Now, here is something written by one of those pesky Dodger media vultures. And they're pissed off because Dave Roberts is not Manager of the Year finalist, right? And they're saying that he had to deal with all kinds of injuries, and that's true. The Dodgers actually had more days spent on the injured list than any other team in baseball. They also used 16 different rookies, okay? The writer claims they weren't the betting favorite in the NL West. But I don't know who else would have been the betting favorite in the NL West other than the Padres, and good grief, that didn't last very long. So, I mean, to say that they weren't the betting favorites, at what time? Was that like 2 weeks before opening day they weren't the betting favorites because they were losing all their pitching?
San Diego was the betting.
San Diego, fine. But once the season started, the Dodgers were guaranteed the betting favorites. And have been for the last however many years, okay? In recent memory, I don't recall another team being the favorites in the NL West. Colorado certainly wasn't the favorite. San Francisco, no. Anyway, this writer feels that Dave Roberts got gypped because even though he dealt with all those injuries and had to use all these rookies, they still won 100 games. Okay, they did win 100 games, and then they got shut out by the Diamondbacks. So,
Robert C. and Zelmo.
Good morning to Zelmo and Tony. Robert C. Great to see you. Guess Joey Votto must be Boston Paul. Good morning to you. You just heard me say Chris from Cambridge. Mark that down on your list. Padres lacked chemistry. I don't totally disagree. But you have the right to your own opinion. He said you can't just lump a bunch of superstars together and hope for the best. Why not? What makes you think they lacked chemistry? Is that just because they didn't perform? I mean, is there anything else that gives you the inclination that they didn't get along with each other? I think there was a lot of lack of chemistry between Bob Melvin and A.J. Preller. But to think that these players didn't have chemistry or get along, I think is stretching it. It's based on just assumption, really, in my opinion. But please do explain your reasoning. SM King Turd's not a fan of Dave Roberts. Are we even sure he makes actual decisions? Well, he probably makes the lineup every day. These managers only have so much they can do with what they are given to work with. The Dodgers, anyway, this idea that, of course, Dodger fans, I'd like to hear from you, Danny, Captain Danny, about how you feel that Dave Roberts did not finish in top 3 for Manager of the Year. Machado and Tatis don't appear to get along. Well, that's going to be a problem. Malpal, give me some input on that one. That would be a huge problem if these two do not get along. I don't know based on what, but the Padres would like to trade infielder Jake Cronenworth this offseason, according to Bob Nightingale, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that they would love to get out of this ridiculous contract that they signed with him. They signed a 7-year, $80 million extension on Cronenworth, okay, in April. Of course, it doesn't take a genius to figure out they'd love to get rid of this guy. Here he is, 29 years old. They just signed him to 8 more years. He decided to opt out of surgery on his right wrist, which had him out of the season early. He finished the year with a .229 batting average, 10 home runs, and 6 stolen bases. He decided not to undergo surgery And the Padres are stuck with him for 7 more years. Was Machado on the same team as Tatis when he tried to fight him, 2 years ago? Oh, yes, I guess he was. Machado tried to fight Tatis 2 years ago in the dugout. And then he threw him under the bus hard when he got suspended for juicing. Interesting, okay? That I don't recall. Thank you, King Turd. All right? Bonkers should be a breakfast cereal, right? Chris from Cambridge. Bonkers. Tommy Johnson talking about the Michigan situation. Says he could podcast for 7 days a week and not get tired of it. Yes, you could listen to podcasts 7 days a week and not get tired of it. It's more work than it seems. Anyway, here's Malpal. The only way to dump Cronenworth is to send him with Soto and get nothing in return. Yes, because whoever gets stuck with that contract is just... What were they thinking when they did that? 7 years, $80 million. Cronenworth, 30-year-old second baseman. All right, let's talk about another second baseman, Jonathan India. A popular name right now among executives at the general manager meetings right now. Multiple teams have inquired to the Reds about his availability, and we've talked about this before. The Reds are going to listen to offers on Jonathan India due to their position player depth. They do value India highly, and they are not that motivated to move him. Jonathan India, 26 years old, no longer a rookie. Don't forget how much we loved this guy. It seems crazy to me that teams, they get so much hype on these youngsters, and then they give up on them right when they're starting to figure it out. Jonathan India finished the season with a .244 average, 17 homers, 14 stolen bases. I will say this, he doesn't run that fast, interestingly enough, 22.9 feet per second. Not in the highest of high, but the reason that they're considering these inquiries about India is that they have Matt McClain, okay? Jonathan India would be the backup second baseman if Matt McClain took over that spot. Remember, though, that the National League does have DH now, and Jonathan India could fit in as their DH should they not trade him away. I really hope they don't trade him away. He is one of the better youngsters, okay? They do have Matt McClain, but what? You're going to replace India with McClain. Is India bad defensively? That's my question to the chat room. Now, Fangraph's steamer projections are out, 2024 steamer projections. The interesting thing that I would like to tell you about today, one of the interesting things, is that they have 19 players projected to go 2020 in 2024, which means 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. We use that term a lot in fantasy. 2020 players are not that easy to come by until lately. They have been lately easier to come by, and this proves it once again. They have Ohtani, Acuna, Kyle Tucker, Jazz Chisholm, Lindor, Arozarena, O'Neal Cruz, Christian Yelich. Interesting that they say Christian Yelich 2020. Hasn't Yelich had enough horrible seasons to knock him out of the projection system like this? I mean, how many good seasons did Christian Yelich have? At this point, it might be safe to assume that Christian Yelich has had more horrible seasons than good seasons. But these are all based on algorithms. They're based on past stats. They're based on age and so on. They're not based on anything human. No human elements here. Malpal says Padres are a 500 type roster. In 2022, they won a ton of close games, and in 23, they lost a ton of close games. It was one of those unlucky years, but they're not a great team, even if they're going good. Good morning to Merrill and Mitchell. SM King Turd says he did see that list too, the 2020 list. He's taking bets right now on Jazz Chisholm under 2020. If anyone wants in, you still owe me some beer due to the fact that Trey Turner stole more bases than Ellie from that point in the season. So I'll make you a bet. We'll go double or nothing on the beer. That way we don't have to ship any liquor in the mail. All right? I'll bet you now on paper that Jazz Chisholm makes the 2020 club next season. Speaking of DHs, Chris from Cambridge would love to see Luke Voigt back in the American League East. Good grief. I drafted him last year thinking he was going to get a chance. He was in Milwaukee. Then he was here and there. He stunk it up. I'll never draft Luke Voigt again.
He's a manager now.
But, he's a manager. Well, he's probably a better manager than he is a first baseman. I will say that, okay? I didn't realize he was a manager. Where's he going?
I don't know.
Who's he a manager of?
Somewhere.
He wasn't a manager last year.
No, he's a manager.
Okay. The beer man is here. Great to see the beer man. Trevor Story. Where's Boston Paul? Let's talk about his beloved Trevor Story. I have a feeling Boston Paul will overpay for Trevor Story. He performed as an average player, but he missed nearly 60 games with a hand injury, and then his foot injury limited his overall production. A surprising jump in his strikeout rate coming over to the American League helped.
He's Cleveland manager.
He's the manager of Cleveland, Luke Voigt, staying in the Central. Talking about Trevor Story, going over to the American League increased his strikeout rate. Are we that surprised when he came from a place like Colorado? You have to assume anybody leaving Colorado is going to lose a little bit off of their offensive production. But look, Trevor Story, a career worst 238, even though he batted 251 in Fenway, it still couldn't save him. Now, looking at Trevor Story going into this season, 2018 is the only season in which he successfully avoided some kind of injury, and his 2023 was off to an ominous start after he underwent an internal bracing procedure on the UCL in his right elbow in January. He finished the season with a .203 batting average, 3 home runs, and 10 stolen bases. And one would say, listening to this podcast, why in the heck is she talking about Trevor Story? Look at his stats. Look what he's done since he left Colorado. I'm done with Trevor Story, but I have to say this. Don't be done with the guy whose ADP is currently at 500. We know he's had it in him. You can't expect a lot from these guys, but you are going to get to a point in your draft where it's pick 300, 400, depending on how deep your league is, 500.
Correct.
If Trevor's... Stephen Vogt.
Yeah, he's the retired catcher.
Not Luke Voigt.
Yes.
Okay, let's back this train up for a second. Chris from Cambridge meant to put in Stephen Vogt, not Luke Voigt. Now, Stephen Vogt is a manager, a retired catcher. Who knows where Luke Voigt is? But I'll tell you what, he won't be on my team ever again. He's only good for one thing, which is power. He even stinks defensively at first base, so you only can put him in as a team at DH. Now, how many teams need a DH like Luke Voigt? Even though, man, this is what I'm talking about with Trevor Story. And why I drafted guys like Luke Voigt on my team, even when he didn't really have a spot. Milwaukee Brewers was jam-packed. Even James K. in the chat room told me and warned me Luke Voigt doesn't have a place, right? Here's the thing. When it gets in your draft to the last few rounds, you're going to see guys like Trevor Story there. How do you not take a chance on Trevor Story? I mean, are you looking for the ceiling? Quit drafting prospects who will never see the light of day in redraft leagues. This does not include any kind of keeper league. In fact, I recommend drafting prospects in keeper league in the last few rounds. All your last rounds should be full of prospects. This is not the same. We're talking about redraft league here. Trevor Story comes up. It's round 27, 12-team whatever league, and Trevor Story's sitting out there. How do you not take a chance on a guy like Trevor Story? That's all I'm saying, all right? He's only 30 years old still. Now, the Cardinals, they're still planning to add multiple arms this offseason, according to MLB trade rumors. In August, Mozeliak said that he planned to bring in 3 new starters, okay? He basically repeated that statement again on Monday, although this time he specified that he's looking for 2 full-time starters and another pitcher that can do split roles, so maybe take on a role as an opener or a guy who relieves openers, or just because if the Cardinals decide to grab 3 full-time starting pitchers, now listen to me carefully here. This does matter to you if you are a fantasy manager. Well, look at what the Cardinals are dealing with. Every pitcher on the market is rumored that the Cardinals are interested. The Cardinals are obviously interested, as referenced by what I just said. Mozeliak has now reiterated a couple times that they're looking for 3 pitchers this offseason, okay? What they already have are veterans Miles Mikolas and Steven Matz. Those are the only 2 they have penciled into the rotation. But hear this, they also have several talented young arms who are waiting around to get an opportunity, including first-round pick Zach Thompson, first-round pick Matthew Liberatore, trade deadline acquisition Drew Rom, R-O-M, and top prospects Gordon Graceffo and Michael McGreevy. None of these pitchers are quite ready to be trusted with an opening day job, but the management over there is hoping that at least a few of them will pitch meaningful big league innings in 2024. Now, there's no such thing as too much pitching depth, right? We all know that, Dodger fans, okay? But still, the Cardinals, if they add the 3 starting pitchers that Mozeliak is considering this winter, this will hurt pitchers. Okay, let me rephrase. This will hurt you as fantasy managers should you draft any of these youngsters or any of the Cardinals starting pitchers, because what will happen is that they will lose opportunity, and the pitchers that you have will not be guaranteed to pitch every 5 days. Just like we did with the Dodgers rotation when they had like 7 or 8 pitchers, starting pitchers, ready starting pitchers on this team. It was either heading into last season or the season before, but they had like 7 starting pitchers. You can't go drafting these guys thinking they're going to pitch every 5 days. And yes, injuries happen, but I'm just saying to keep it in mind when you're picking starting pitchers. Don't try to get wins. Focus more on their position, right? Where are they in the rotation? If they're the best pitcher in that rotation and they're not a good pitcher, don't draft that guy, because he's going to be going up against all kinds of other first number 1 pitchers, right? So let's say the Cardinals entered the season right now with Steven Matz and Miles Mikolas as their 1 and 2. That would be horrible fantasy picks. They're going to be going up against the Verlanders of the world, the Striders of the world, the Zach Gallons of the world, and they are going to get just slaughtered. And it doesn't happen all the time. It's not a reliable thing, but it may make a difference. So when you're choosing which pitcher to draft in your slow draft, you have time to think about it. Just keep in mind, yes, the Dodgers do need some pitching, but if they do go ahead and invest in 3 full-time starting pitchers, it's going to hurt the fantasy value of the rest of these guys, especially the youngsters who will be robbed of their opportunity to pitch. Okay, now the Twins, the rumor has it, and there is a good reason, okay, for this idea, After carrying a team record payroll above $155 million in 2023, the rumor has it that the Twins are going to lower their payroll for next season. Okay, well, of course I want to know why they say that, right? And it's going to have an effect on their off-season activity. I'll tell you why. Here's the reason. They already have about $125 million committed towards next year's roster. And the biggest thing is that they no longer have a TV contract with Diamond Sports Group, the parent company of Bally Sports North, which netted the team $54.8 million in revenue this past year. So that's the reason that people are saying that the Twins are going to lower their payroll. As I mentioned, they spent a team record $155 million. So one reason why a more complete roster is more important is because the lack of payroll flexibility to make their major additions to the roster. They still have $125 million committed to next year. They have salaries of at least $10 million tied to, oh, good grief, Carlos Correa. What a nightmare signing that was. Byron Buxton, okay? Maybe, maybe not. But Lenny mentioned yesterday that they're still looking for another guy to fill in when Byron Buxton's hurt. Jorge Polanco, at least $10 million. Max Kepler, at least $10 million. And Christian Vasquez, all at least $10 million. Max Kepler, a free agent after the 2024 season, and Polanco will generate interest in trade talks. The current payroll figure doesn't include the one-year, $20 million qualifying offer the Twins extended to Sonny Gray on Monday. It's a formality for top free agents, but Gray is expected to decline that $20 million qualifying offer by November 14th in search of a larger contract on the free agent market. Now, I will say I love Sonny Gray going into next year. I love Jordan Montgomery going into next year. I love these low 90s I love these low 90s fastball guys because they don't throw their arm out as much. Okay, that's personal opinion, just an observation, right? Let me check out the chat room.
Chat was fabulous.
Danny Fuller wants the pitcher that history shows they pitch 5 or more innings. Well, the first name that comes to mind is, someone you don't want. Free agent Kiki Hernandez underwent double hernia surgery on October 24th. He's expected to resume baseball activities in 3 to 4 weeks. His condition helps explain why he wasn't the same offensively and defensively last season. But I would love to know how old Kiki Hernandez is. I have a feeling he's approaching like 35. I could be totally wrong. Please let me know anybody knows Kiki Hernandez's age. He just had double hernia surgery. It's Macho Madness in the chat room. It's Macho Manny Madness. Malpal says lots of teams have no TV deals. No one talks about that. The Padres lost their $70 million TV deal. Eddie says, why no TV deals? Eddie, do you guys still have MASN, M-A-S-N? That was the TV station for the Orioles and the Nationals. Boston Paul says the Brewers should bring in David Ross. I think that was a huge loss for the Cubbies. I don't know why they did that to him. He was a huge fan favorite, a local in the community, played for the Cubbies. Regional TV contracts are going the way of the dodo over sports packages and streaming. So don't these teams have the same kind of deals with streaming services as they do with these local stations? I don't know, but I guess it would be MLB, the parent company, right? MLB, Major League Baseball. They're the ones reaping all the money. Where does all this money go? To pay for contracts with Fox and other things. I'm not sure. All right. Thank you for the update. Kiki is 32. He's still young. I disagree. He's not still young. But of course, wait, isn't he a Dodger or is he a Red Sox? I can't remember. But the Dodger fan and the Red Sox fan both gave me the age. So we'll see. Major League Baseball trade rumors, MLB TR predictions have Bellinger 12 years, $264 million, and Jordan Montgomery 6 years, $150 million. We know Bellinger declined his end of a $12.5 million mutual option with the Cubbies on Friday, and Montgomery, I love, put up a 2.62 ERA and a 1.14 whip through 92.2 innings. I did look at his formula, Malpal. He doesn't strike out as many batters as we would like. He doesn't have a huge swing and miss percentage. So that's going to cap his fantasy upside. But I say I will take Jordan Montgomery and his lack of swing and miss every day of the week over a guy that is going to throw at 99 every time. Sports teams do not have deals with internet streaming sites. Danny Fuller, Manny 31, LOL. Okay. Funny, one is old and one is young per the Mets. LOL. Per me, I guess it's, I don't know. You're right about that. I do consider Manny perfect age, and I do consider Kiki over the hill. Maybe it's because every year Kiki's ever played, he's been injured, and Manny is quite the opposite of that. He finally got injured this year and spent some time on the injured list for the first time since, he came into the major leagues. Montgomery's predictable, a solid 3.75 ERA guy. I say it's going to be much lower than that. I would say a 3.25 ERA guy is Montgomery next season. He only threw 92 and 2/3 innings since he was traded to the Rangers and finished with a 2.62 ERA as a Ranger. But I love it. I hope that his fantasy value stays low. I hope that people expect a 3.75 ERA from him. I think that's a little high, but, I'll take it. Red Sox officials have spoken with the agent for Jordan Montgomery. All right, that's one thing we know according to the manager meetings. Now, Eric Fetty, the ex-National, he went 20-6 with the 2.00 ERA and won the Korean Cy Young Award this year, for the NC Dinos. He's drawing MLB interest after this past season with Korea Baseball Organization, according to John Heyman. Take from that what you will. But here's a guy that he had a 5.41 ERA in 454 and a third innings with the Nationals between 2017 and 2022. Because of how good he did in Korea, now MLB teams are ready to give him another shot. But do you trust Eric Fetty in the Major League Baseball? Okay, do you? I will never say the MLB. Do you trust Fetty back in MLB? Tell me in the chat room. Ha-Sung Kim, all right? He had a relatively lethargic finish, but the third-year infielder did take a huge step forward in 2023. He posted a 262 average, 354 on base percentage, which is good, 140 hits, 75 walks, 17 home runs, 84 runs, and 38 stolen bases over 151 games. Holy moly, all career highs. He's 28-year-old second baseman, signed a 4-year, $28 million contract with the Padres in 2020. So this coming season will be his final year in his contract. And boy, oh boy, is he working towards it. I would say I'm taking this guy if I could get him under the radar. Clayton Kershaw returns from shoulder surgery next year. The Dodgers, of course, wanted to be with them. They did not extend a qualifying offer to JD Martinez, but that does not close the door to him coming back, especially if LA misses out on Ohtani. Free agent Zach Greinke is still deciding whether or not he will pitch in 2024, according to the Royals general manager yesterday. Also, the Blue Jays are showing interest in free agent Michael A. Taylor as the offseason gets underway. You know Michael Taylor, who we used to call Michael Failure, 32 years old. Is he old? I don't know, but he's coming off a career-high 21 home runs, and he did win a Gold Glove in 2021. Interesting tidbit before I let you guys go. The bottom seed in the National League over the last 4 full seasons has gone to the World Series.
Nice going.
That's the Diamondbacks.
Last chance for calls.
Last chance for calls, everybody. No big deal if you don't. It'll be okay. Nobody's going to cry over here if you don't want to call. Lenny just wants to put the option out there for you. We really appreciate everybody in the chat room this morning and, of course, every day. King Hap, don't forget, tonight is Happy Hour Social Club. You can find them on Twitch. That's where you get to do all the live chat. You get to play marbles. You get to argue with Boston Paul. And, of course, Taco, the star of the show. Happy Hour Social Club tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time. Be there, be square. No, be there or be square. And we're rooting for Jolene to beat all the boys in fantasy football. So with the Happy Hour Social Club, you get to listen to all kinds of sports. The UFC, hockey, football, baseball, everything is on tap. Great group of friends and family in the chat room over there. A whole bunch of Boston people that we love. And that's it. Join King App tonight, 7:30. Big Al, thanks so much. SM King Turd Jr., DK Loosh, Leonard Donaldson, Danny, Daniel, Chris, 2 Chris's, Lenny, and I can't see past that, but I know Malpal's here. Merrill and Mitchell, the Hartson brothers, and Zelmo, Tony, Tommy Johnson, Triple Play, Turd Jr.,
Tommy Johnson,
and everybody.
And that's what you got.
Love it. Great day to all of you. Lenny will be back tomorrow.
Maybe.
He says maybe. But he's going to be back tomorrow. Goodbye.